Hello, my name is Hadzimichalis and I am 36 years old. I recently just found out that I have lymphoma. However, it has been quite the journey and I want to share with you guys my story. I get a lot of questions and I really wanted to make this video and I've been procrastinating on it for a while, and today I was just like, if I don't get up and make this video, I'm never gonna make it. So here we are. A year ago, I went to the hospital because I had chest pain, and I never had chest pain like this before, and I really didn't think anything of it. I kind of just blew it off. And then the following day, I was in an Uber and I was on the way to get my hair done. And I felt this numbing on my left arm, and I've never felt this before. It went from all the way up by my shoulder, all the way down my arm, and I told the Uber driver that I needed to go to the hospital, like right away. So we rerouted to the nearest hospital, and they took a bunch of blood tests. They took x-rays on my chest, and they didn't find anything. They sent me home. They told me to go to my primary doctor. And before I really get into this, I just want to emphasize that this is my story, and in sharing my story, I hope this helps somebody. If I can just help one person with my story and bring awareness to one person, then this is all complete for me, and with the help of you, I can help more people just to raise awareness around the fact, and to, if you notice some unusual things going on with your body, then make sure to go get checked. Don't prolong it any longer than it needs to be. So anyway, I went to my primary doctor and she took some blood work, and she didn't think there was anything really that wrong with me either, of course. I did have really low iron, and she said I was borderline anemic, and she gave me some iron pills, basically called it a day. However, I did make an appointment with a neurologist because I was experiencing headaches for a while, probably about a year. Every day I was getting headaches. I had to take Tylenol every day for the pain. And so I decided I wanted to go see a neurologist, where he was really awesome. He spent a lot of time with me and he took some blood work. He also sent me to get an MRI of my brain. And when the MRI came back, they found a 4-millimeter brain aneurysm. I was devastated. This was a couple months back where I found out. I have a lot of my story on my social media, so you guys can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I share the most on Facebook and Instagram. I also want to preface this, I'm really going based on my memory, so my timings might be a little off and things like that, but you guys are going to get the gist of everything. So when the 4-millimeter aneurysm came back, I was obviously just devastated. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Like, how could this happen? For the most part, I had a lot of success going on in my life. Things were actually going really amazing in my life. And I'm like, how can things be going so right in my life and then my health be like, almost, I felt like deteriorating right before my eyes. It's crazy. And it gets worse. We're not even really in the thick of it. So when he took the blood work, he took a couple blood tests that I will point out for you guys. One being the CRP, which stands for C-reactive protein. That is basically a test to see if you have a lot of inflammation inside of your body. And my result came back a 56 at that time. Which is chronic inflammation, because a normal standard range for the inflammation, I believe, is anywhere from like 0 to 15, and I was a 56. So he had sent me to go to my primary doctor to get more inflammation tests. So I went back. So he wanted me to get an ESR blood test and also an ANA blood test. The ESR stands for sedimentation rate, and the ANA is an anti-nuclear blood test. So if the CRP and the ESR are both high and your ANA test comes up positive, because the ANA can either be positive or negative, then you could have an autoimmune disease. So here I am thinking I have some sort of autoimmune disease, and I'm like on a mission to figure out what it is. So anyway, I go to my primary doctor again. I tell her what the neurologist wanted me to do. She took those tests. Of course, the ESR came up very high. I believe it was a 126, and the normal standard range is anywhere from 0 to 15 for women. blood, okay? And you can do your own research as well. She actually took the ANA test, which could determine if I have that autoimmune disease or not. And it actually came up negative on her side. So here at this point, I decided that I needed to start really trusting myself and doing my own research on the information provided that I have from the doctors, like the blood tests, the MRIs and everything on my own, and really research and dive deep into like what the heck is going on, right? So I actually made like a Google Sheets, and I have my ESR, my ANA, and my CRP in chronological order from the dates that I started getting those blood tests, and see if like I've improved in any type of way and things like that. Just so I have it, so I don't have to always go back to the portals, the hospital and doctor portals, or pieces of paper that I'm going to lose. Like I always know it's in my sheets. So I started to become more familiar with the blood test. And I realized that the neurologist gave me an ANA test, and that test was positive. So in my mind, I'm like, wow. He gave me an ANA test and it came up positive, but then I went to my primary and it came up negative. Like, what is going on, right? Like, how does that even make sense? In the midst of this though, we have a 4 mm aneurysm going on inside my head, which they're telling me they don't think is anything to do with the inflammation or anything else that I'm feeling, because I was getting those headaches. They did not think that the aneurysm had anything to do with the headaches. So the aneurysm was just something that we kind of like bumped into along the way to find out the real issue. It's really crazy to me too, because before the MRI came up that there was an aneurysm in my head, my neurologist, and a neurologist is a doctor that works on your brain, okay? Just so anybody knows, because this was all brand new to me. So again, if I could help like in any way, even with just that, you understanding like the doctors and what they are and all these things, I'm like, that just makes my day. So, and really like helping you guys helps me get through this whole process and this whole thing as well. So if you guys can, go ahead, share my content and all those things, that would really mean so much to me as well. My neurologist thought that it was long COVID. And I thought that was funny because I really started to experience headaches after I had COVID. Like, I never experienced headaches. In fact, I was like the person who would even say things like, I don't understand how people have headaches like all the time. Like, how is that even possible? And then it started happening to me. And it's so crazy because I was even the person, I was literally a couple weeks before I started finding out all this, I was like telling my brother, like over the phone, I'm like, I feel like we have like really good genes because none of us really ever get sick. And then boom, I get like this crazy sickness. Like, whew. It's so crazy. It really is. And I haven't even really started my lymphoma journey too much. So this is really just going to be part one of my story. There's going to be so much more to come, especially if you're watching this. Today is December 28th, 2023 when I'm recording this. And I have so many doctor's appointments starting in January. So make sure you guys are following along, especially on Instagram and Facebook. Then my neurologist sends me to a neurosurgeon so they could do a procedure called an angiogram. And an angiogram is where they stick a catheter, which is like a little wire, like it's much smaller than that, but honestly, my hands hurt. I can't even like do that. But it's a small wire. I guess I could do it on this. It's like a very small wire, and they put it right here. I don't know if you guys can see that dot. That dot right there is where they stuck it in, and it went all the way up my arm and into my brain, where then they can take more detailed pictures of the aneurysm. And actually, we got really good news after the procedure. They said that the 4 mm aneurysm was not even in existence. It wasn't even inside me. So I felt such a sign of relief. However, they did say that they found a 1.5 mm aneurysm, but it wasn't even in the same spot as they thought the 4 mm aneurysm was. So of course I went through like these. I'm like, well, how did they not even know about the 1.5 mm aneurysm? But at this point, it's like, I can't drive myself crazy about like all the little small details all the time. I have to just keep living in the moment, because if I go back and I start analyzing and just like asking like these questions, like, how did they not find that before and things like that, it's just going to drive me crazy. And I feel like I'm already going crazy. So I just don't need any more. So during that procedure, I was halfway awake. They didn't put me under full anesthesia, and I felt it. It was so crazy. Like I am like not one for pain. I just can't handle it. I don't like needles. I just, like when I had COVID, I literally was like, what the heck is inside my body? Like, it needs to get out. I just didn't feel okay. Like, I just, when you have these extra things going on, like the aneurysms and, you know, all these different health conditions, I don't know if anybody else can relate with this, but it's like, get this out of my body. Like, I feel like it's intruding upon me. Like, I don't know if anyone else feels like that, but I'm just like, it needs to be gone. It needs to be out. Like, this is not okay. Anyway, with the procedure, I started like wiggling my toes at the end of the bed, because my arm was like laying on the bed like this, and my whole front and my face and everywhere from like here to like all here was covered. I couldn't see anything, but I knew something was going on, and I felt it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And he saw my feet like wiggle, and he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, but I feel it. Like, I literally felt it in my arm. So he gave me some more pain medicine, I guess. I don't even remember what it was. But then after that, I didn't feel it, and I think they honestly kind of downplayed the healing process, because they made it seem like I wasn't going to feel any pain and that I was going to be able to just go back to normal after the second day. The first day they said not to lift anything. I think it was like over 50 pounds or something. And then the second day I should be okay. But really, I was like feeling weird and healing for like 2 weeks. My whole hand, my whole arm, I have pictures. I think I have pictures on my Facebook and my Instagram. I do in my Instagram highlights. My whole like arm here was bruised. My hand was bruised. And anybody knows that a bruise takes like, 2 to 3 weeks to heal. So I was like, and this is my right hand. I write with this hand. And I really like use my phone and everything with this hand. So it was a little rough for those couple weeks. And sometimes you think like, you're never going to heal, like this is going to be, you ask yourself, you're like, am I going to feel this way forever? And then once you start feeling better and like back to normal, you're like, oh, thank gosh. Right. So I was like happy that was over. But during all of this, again, there is something else going on. And after my primary doctor sent me to the rheumatologist, I thought we were going to find answers there. I thought I had autoimmune disease. I was looking up like all my symptoms and like researching all the autoimmune diseases that I could possibly be. I definitely went down that rabbit hole. And I really was convinced that I had lupus, because sometimes my cheeks get really red and I felt like I was getting those like butterfly rashes. I still am getting fevers every single day. Then night sweats, fatigue, just low energy, body pains. I have pains in my lower back. I have pain up here, like in the middle of my chest. I have hand pain really bad. I even went to a hand doctor, and he just looked at me and said, oh, you're okay. Just stop using your cell phone so much, basically. And I was like, oh, but there's a problem. I know there's a problem. But then I just went on like living my normal life, because what am I supposed to do? Like hibernate in a little ball, like life still goes on. And at one point, I feel like I wanted to like give up on finding the answer, because the rheumatologist told me that based on the blood work, she did not think that it was anything in her field and anything that she specializes in. So and at that point I was like, what do you mean? Like, how can it not be something you specialize in? So she's sending me to 2 other doctors, and I didn't know what kind of doctors they were. I had to, of course, like Google it. So she sent me to a hematologist, I hope I'm saying that right, and a infectious disease doctor. However, she told me, we had like one of those telehealth calls. She told me that I didn't need to rush, so I can wait a little while and, wait a month or so, and then I could go to those doctors. And I'm like, what? I'm going to make those appointments like right now. So I found a hematologist and the infectious disease doctor, and I made appointments for both of them around the same time. So first was my infectious disease doctor. And at this point, I'm like, this doctor needs to help me. I must have printed out 200 papers, like literally 200 papers of doctor's notes. Cause I don't know if I'm very into the portals that you can use for the health. I think it's a great way to communicate, because I love I'm not like a lot technology, but I like the fact that I could just log into the portal and go to like our doctor's appointments and see like a summary of notes and all those things. Anyway, I printed out every single summary that I had with doctors from going back to April, all the blood work, all the notes, everything. And I went to this doctor and I said, please help me. There's something wrong and I need to find out what it is. Please help me. And I'm really convinced that because I was so prepared for this appointment, I think that he really helped me. Not saying that like he wouldn't have helped me, but just because I feel like I was so prepared, I don't know. I just feel like he was a very nice guy. He sent me for more blood tests from his specialty. So the infectious disease doctor, look, you could just Google what an infectious disease doctor blood tests are, because off the top of my head, I really don't know. But he said too, he was like, I don't think you have anything here. You know, I don't think you have anything here. And at this point, you're kind of like lose hope. You're like, well, if it's not at this doctor, it's not at this doctor, it's not at this doctor. What can it be and what is next? You know, like for me, it was like, we're getting worse, not better. Like some people were like, oh, they don't think anything, you have anything. I'm like, yeah, but like we need to rule out cancer now. And if they don't think it's anything in their specialties, then it could be worse than what we think. So the blood tests that he took all came out okay. However, he did order a CT scan of my whole chest. So your whole chest is basically, I don't know if I could stand up, but like it's all here. So it was like my neck, my chest here, my abdomen, my stomach. Really it was pelvis, abdomen, and chest and neck basically. And at the doctor's appointment, he had touched like me to see if he could feel any lumps or anything like that. Obviously, he didn't touch me in my private parts or anything like that. But you know, you go to the doctor and they touch like your stomach, your side, and he didn't think anything. He touched my neck over here. So we were confident that the CT scan was going to come out okay, basically. About, I don't know, 2-3 hours after I got the CT scan, the doctor calls me back in a panic, basically, and I knew something was wrong. I just knew that something was wrong. And he said that all of my lymph nodes were enlarged and I needed to go see a cancer doctor like right away. So good thing that the rheumatologist told me to make an appointment with the infectious disease doctor and the hematologist, because I actually had an appointment with the hematologist like 2 days later. So that was good. And it was very emotional. Like that day was just really emotional. Like I told my mom and we all cried. I told my dad and we were just in shock basically, because you just suspect like the worst. You just, you know, if your lymph nodes are swollen or enlarged and there were no answers at any other doctors, then what's going on? Sorry, I'm like crying because it's emotional. Sometimes I can't believe it. It's hard to say the C word out loud. It's hard to say lymphoma out loud. Even though sometimes I do, but I don't know if you follow me, you know, you might notice that like I avoid saying those words because it's not easy. And if you're watching this and you in this story, you know, you can relate with this, I just really want you to know that you're not alone. You're not alone in this, and it's okay. We're gonna get through it. Things are gonna be okay. I know it's hard. And I know some days you literally don't want to do anything, you know, but we have to, you know. Sometimes I look at celebrities who have been diagnosed with certain things and I really feed off of their strength. And I'm like, if they can get through this, like being in such like the public eye and everything, I'm gonna get through this like a motherfucker, you know? And I encourage you guys to feel that way too and believe that you're gonna get through it, because you will. And I can't wait to hear your success stories, because it truly helps knowing that like there's other people going through similar situations, even though it's terrible that so many of us are going through certain health situations, not certain, but like any health situation. But it also helps to know that we're not alone in this and we do have people to lean on, you know? So I would want to thank you guys if you got to this point, because it making these videos and everything, it truly helps me. It gives me a purpose. It makes me feel like it just gives me a purpose, because it just gives me a purpose. And I love helping people. I always loved helping people. And if I can help people through my journey, then that's what I'm meant to do in this time of my life. So a lot of people ask me like, what were the symptoms you were experiencing? And here's the thing, I have a whole list of symptoms. I can read them to you. I have them pinned in my notes over here, because I also, when the doctors ask me my symptoms, I don't just want to go off of like my memory. I would literally write down I put them in my phone, in the notes in my phone, so that way I could just pull it up and read my symptoms to them rather than going by memory, because sometimes you might forget something. That's another thing. I feel like my memory is just not right, you know, and sometimes I'm like excited to heal, to fix myself, to do what I need to do to get everything back and fixed. So here are my symptoms. A whole bunch of symptoms. Now, I do want to make this clear that I don't know if all of these symptoms are related to the lymphoma itself. I do know that the symptoms that are related to the lymphoma are the night sweats. I get drenching night sweats and fevers every single day. The fevers were very concerning to me. Like at one point in this journey, I was kind of like, maybe like I'll just stop this. But I could not dismiss the fact that I was literally getting low-grade fevers every single day. I'm not exaggerating when I say every day. So that was really kind of scary for me. But here's a list of all the symptoms that I have. So hand pain, pain in my arms and legs sometimes, low-grade fever every day, high inflammation based on the CRP and the ESR, fatigue, drenching night sweats. Like the drenching night sweats, it almost feels like I'm literally diving, like jumping in a pool and then coming out and I'm like soaked. My bed sometimes is soaked. Like I just got out of the shower or the pool. I'm always hot. I get out of breath a lot. Sometimes it'll be 30 degrees outside and I'll still be sleeping with my fan on. Getting ready used to take me, I don't know, an hour to get ready. It takes me like 2 hours to get ready now, because I need to like take breaks in between getting ready to like sit down and like breathe and even go outside and get some fresh air and cool down. Headaches every day, weakness all around my body. I have these like rashes on my arms. I don't know if you guys can see. So I have like rashes on these arms. And then I've been getting these rashes in random parts of my body. Like my lower back is like covered in them, and they're not like red rashes, they're like white rashes. And then sometimes when I go in the sun, it's so crazy because I always love being in the sun. I love being by the beach. If you know me, I love being by the pool. It's like my favorite thing to do. And I like one day I realized, oh my gosh, like every time I go in the sun without sunscreen, I itch like my chest, my whole chest. Maybe I'll show pictures on my Instagram. I don't think I have them up, but like my whole chest, my neck over here was just itchy. My wrists were itchy, and the worst itches would happen at night. But I do notice that when I put sunscreen on, I don't really get that itch, but I still have to be mindful and cautious about going in the sun these days because I don't want to start itching, and it's hard. So blurry vision, I've been having blurry vision ever since I was from like 10 years. I remember started getting blurry vision like 10 years ago. So it's really crazy to like think about the fact that I feel like my body has been fighting this fight for so long. It just didn't catch up with my brain so we actually can know about it. It's like, holy moly. Like, I feel like we've been like fighting this fight for a long time, and either long time or maybe started happening like after COVID. I honestly can't tell you. I can't tell you when it could have started. I don't think we're ever going to know when it started or when but I can tell you I started getting blurry vision like 10 years ago. Again, I don't know if that's a symptom of the actual lymphoma. I was also experiencing like lightheadedness, dizziness, confusion, but I honestly haven't felt those 3 symptoms in a couple weeks. I started to get them often, but I haven't really gotten that. Sometimes if I bend all the way down to like my feet, I do get like really lightheaded, but I don't know if that's normal or what. So anyway, we went to a hematologist that is basically like the hematologist, and he's a hematologist and oncologist, and an oncologist and a hematologist, basically cancer doctor. So I did not think I had cancer, guys. And so there were 2 hematologist oncologists that I could go to. One was a little closer to my home, and the other one was about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour drive away from my home. Now, the one that was closer to my home, he was booked up until months. It would take me like 2 months to get an appointment with him. So I was like, in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm probably never going to have to go to this doctor again. So it's okay if I make the appointment with the doctor that's 45 to an hour away. So we go to his office, and he basically, like, the first thing he says is that he thinks it's lymphoma. So it was kind of like expected at this point. So I didn't like break down when I was talking to him, but I was still very nervous. I was so nervous, guys. Like, when you think cancer, you think of chemo, you know. But lately I've been hearing many good experiences with chemo, and I'm like, it's going to be okay. And the doctor reassured me that things are going to be okay as well, and we're going to get through this. So the next thing that I needed to do in this journey was to go get a biopsy, so we can see, you know, if it's 100% lymphoma and what type it is, because I asked the hematologist many questions, like, you know, what are my next steps, and, you know, what can I expect in the future? And basically said, I think there's like 80 types of lymphoma. So they knew it was lymphoma. I asked him, like, how can you be so certain that it is? And he told me, like, based on his experience, this is what it seems to be. He sent me to get a biopsy. I think it was like a week later I had that. And you could see that story on my Instagram. And the biopsy was, they put a needle. You guys can probably see, like, right here. These are little scars. I know I have like so many, like beauty marks, I like to call them. But right here is where they put the needle in to basically like hit my lymph node, pull some cells out, and give me a diagnosis. So I was not under anesthesia for that. I was completely awake. They numbed the area. The doctor was so nice. Not to mention he was like really hot. And I was like, huh, okay. And we shared the same birthday. So I was like, this is like a plus. I think he was wearing a ring. So, you know. Anyway, they took what they could took. I think they like poked it about 12 times. And then they took the sample down to the lab so they can see if they had enough of the sample. They told me that they had enough of sample, so they didn't need to go and poke anymore. So I was like, okay, great, perfect. I was like in and out of there in like an hour. It was actually really easy. I thought it was going to be much worse. The results came back right away, and it confirmed that it was lymphoma. The doctor called me 3 days after the test because I was able to see the results before the doctor even called me in the portal. So it took me, like, honestly, I did not want to open the results, but I saw them. My sister-in-law and my brother were kind of like pushing me to actually open them. So I finally ended up opening them, and it said lymphoma, but it didn't say like the type of lymphoma. It didn't say the stage. However, the doctor told me it doesn't matter what stage it's going to be. He told me that I'm young and that we're going to get through it. And lymphoma stages isn't the same as other cancer stages. So he said it doesn't matter if I have stage 1 or stage 4. It's all kind of like the same thing. And again, I'm not a doctor, so, you know, go to your doctor if you have any questions and things like that, and definitely push for yourself. There were many times in this experience where the communication was off with the doctors. There were many times where I was on the phone, 12 hours sometimes, going back and forth with doctors. He said, she said, all this stuff. And you really have to have a lot of patience and grace, like with the process, even though I know it's really hard because you're literally going through it. But you need to like be an advocate for yourself. And when those doctors sometimes say, you're okay, or, oh, you don't look sick, because that's something I used to get, was like, you don't look sick. And I'm like, nobody said I'm ugly. Nobody said that you can literally not look sick at all and be sick. That's one thing that if you're watching this is like, never say to a sick person is, well, you don't look sick. Nobody said we looked sick, but we are, and you could look beautiful on the outside, but you could be really hurting on the inside. So just keep that in mind. And that's another thing when I see people these days and I'm like in the stores and I'm shopping around, I just look at people and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what you're going through. You don't know what other people are going through. And it just really humbled me a lot. I think also it just really brought me back to a place of humble. Like sometimes I think like, oh my gosh, like maybe this was a kick in the ass that I needed. I don't know. But anyway, so they never ended up getting enough sample to be able to tell me what type of lymphoma it is and also the stage that it's in, even though the stage won't matter, he said, but they do need to know what type of lymphoma it is in order to give me a treatment plan based on that. So I had some issues in December with my insurance. So all of my appointments got held back for the month of December. At first I was like, really like, oh my gosh, how could they just drop me like this? Or how can, this be happening? But at the same time, it was kind of like, I feel like maybe I needed December to process everything, to do some research on my own, start changing my diet a little bit, start eating better and taking care of myself. So I ended up, getting a walking pad for my room, because they do say, I think it's the Mount Sinai website, they say that if you're more active, like before you start treatments, it's better for you. So I, instead of, sitting around doing nothing all day, I decided I was going to get a walking pad and get my butt up and walk and, be more active and move my body a little bit. So I want to have a smooth treatment. I don't know what to expect in the future, and I don't really want to think about it too much. You guys will see the whole journey unfold as we go. We haven't even started yet. It is December 28th, 2023. January, we're going to have a lot of appointments coming up. I have a PET scan I'm supposed to have on the 2nd. Surgery also in January, and we're going to see, we're in this together. I want you to know that we are in this together and you're not alone. And, the support and the feedback really, really helps me. And I hope that this video, helps you too. Because the next step now is to get the neck surgery, where basically they go into my neck again and they take a lymph node. So all the lymph nodes that are enlarged in my body, you cannot physically see. I can't see any of them in my stomach. They told me that there's enlarged lymph nodes in here and basically like all around. There's one that I could feel, and I recently discovered, probably about a month ago, that's recent. So when I went to for the consultation at the neck surgeon, actually, I had told him, I said the hematologist said that you can't see the lymph nodes or whatever, but I don't even know where this one is. So the neck surgeon, he felt my neck and he said, oh, it's right there. So now I could feel this one right here, but you can't even see it, but I could feel it. I don't know if you could see it actually. You might be able to see it. It's literally right here. But there's like multiple. So what they're going to do is they're going to remove the largest lymph node. I think that one is, and then they're going to be able to sample it and tell me exactly what type of lymphoma I have, so we can finally get treatment. I've been waiting for treatment. I've been scared of treatment. But I want treatment. I want the help. I want to feel better. I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired already. I just want my life back. I want to be able to just move on. I want to get through the next, 6 months. Chemotherapy is definitely scary, but I know that they have, I don't know. I have this belief that things are going to be okay. So I actually had to go to a cardiologist, which is a heart doctor, for clearance for the actual neck surgery, because I did tell the neck surgeon that I had shortness of breath, because I do. I literally can't walk up the steps without being shortness of breath. And I'm not going to lie. I'm going to tell what's happening. I want to get the proper treatments. and help. So I had to go to a cardiologist to get a stress test. And also I asked my hematologist, the cancer doctor, what I can do in the meantime while we wait and stuff like that. This was back in November. And so he told me that since I'm going to have chemotherapy anyway, I'm going to have a recent echocardiogram. And guys, I'm probably butchering all these words, all these names. Don't mind me. The last one I believe was in July, and that was all right, because when I went to the hospital in the beginning, when I first talked about how I took the Uber to the hospital, they had told me actually that I had an extra heartbeat here and there. So they told me to go to a cardiologist. But then when I went to the cardiologist, then they said everything was okay. But then this time around, and it's crazy what could happen in just a couple months, you know? So make sure you're getting your checkups routinely. Please, routinely. I was the type of person, guys, that didn't even want to have insurance because I was like, oh, I'm never sick. I don't need it. I was that person. I'm so grateful that I have insurance. So grateful. So, you know, and my mom was the one to always push me to have it, even though I didn't want to for some reason. But I'm very grateful to this day that I do have it. So I had to get the echocardiogram, and then they also put a monitor on my heart. So they wanted to monitor my heart, and I haven't had the follow-up for that yet because I was actually without insurance for the whole entire December, and all my appointments and everything will start back up in January. Again, I think I'm grateful for not having the appointments in December. I did go to the hospital because I was very constipated the end of November, if you guys remember that. But they took a CT scan and everything is stable in size. So I do know that it's not growing at this rapid rate. So by the time January comes and I take the PET scan and we move forward, I think we're going to be all right. I'm going to be all right. But that is all of the updates and all of the information that I have so far. We're just getting started. I love you guys so much. Follow along my journey, of course. And I can't wait. Well, I don't want to say I can't wait. I can't wait, actually. I can't wait to get a treatment. But thank you for listening to this video. And maybe I'll give another one, maybe not. I don't really know. But I was just feeling really called to make this video today. If you guys have any questions about anything, my inbox is always open. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And keep in mind also that I am going through my own journey. And sometimes I might not be able to get back to my messages fast enough, but I always read them and I do see them. I just might not be able to reply to all of them in a timely manner. Also because my hands hurt so bad. But yeah, so I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, night. I don't know where you are in the world. Let me know where you guys are coming in from, like what state or country you're in. I would love to know how far my videos can reach as well. So bye guys, until next time. Night.